think we are good to go. We are recording. All right. Welcome to the Certification Advisory Council meeting. This meeting, as I said, is being recorded today. We are meeting virtually via the Zoom platform. And I would like to remind participants to mute yourself when not speaking and unmute when speaking. If you can ensure your video is on when you're speaking so others can see you. We will be reviewing a PowerPoint today. Since we have a small advisory committee, I'm not very worried about you talking over one another. And since I may be focused on the slides, I might not see a hand raised. So if you have a comment during our discussion and I don't see you right away, please just chime in and I will acknowledge you for any comments or suggestions or questions you have. We are going to ask you today to review our proposed standards of operation and provide us with some feedback. Several of our coordinating board staff members are present today to listen to the suggestions you might make. I wanted to note one person in particular. Dr. Paul Schuler is with us. He is retiring at the end of next month. So this is his last CAC meeting with us. As many of you know, Paul has been really important as a team member in our certificate of authority process. I have relied on him many years. See, I'm going to tear up a little to be our staff liaison on site visits and ensuring that the site team and the applicant have the information they need for a smooth process. Please join me in thanking Paul for his service. Thank you, Paul. I want to welcome our Certification Advisory Council members. CAC members, after I state your name, please identify yourself and give your institution and title. Fernando Chapa.
Hello, Fernando Chapa from South Texas College, Dean of Institutional Research, Effectiveness, and Strategic Planning.
Thank you. Is Danita Wojar joining us today? I did not see her. Kristen Kirkpatrick.
Hi, everyone. Kristen Kirkpatrick. I'm the Dean of Academic Compliance for Dallas College.
And Siddhikanta Mohanty.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Siddhikanta Mohanty. I am at San Antonio College, which is a part of Alamo Colleges. Alamo Colleges has 5 colleges.
Thank you. And finally, our CAC chair, Dorothy Langley.
Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. I am Dr. Dorothy Langley. I am the Director of Sponsored Programs and Grants for Jarvis Christian University, and I also head up our workforce initiatives.
Thank you. I am going to ask Dr. Langley to handle consideration and approval of the July 31st, 2025 summary meeting notes. And then Dr. Langley, you can pass back to me for our slide presentation. Dr. Langley, are you there?
Yes, I'm talking, but I'm talking just to me, so I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, I was stating good morning again, and I am going to now address the minutes from our last meeting, and I wanted to see by some type of gesture if you had an opportunity to read the minutes. Everyone did? Okay. At this time, we would like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you. May we have a second?
I second it. This is Siddhikanta Mohanty.
Thank you so much. We have received a motion to approve the minutes first and second. We would like to go now around to each committee member on the call and ask you to verbally vote to approve the minutes.
Yes, let me do that, Dr. Chapa.
Okay, go ahead.
I approve.
Dr. Mohanty,
I approve.
Dr. Kirkpatrick,
I approve.
and Dr. Langley.
I approve. Thank you so much. The minutes have been presented and approved by the motions. I'm going to turn it over back to Cam.
Thank you very much. I am sharing my screen so you can all see the slides summarizing the proposed standards for operation. And we will welcome any comments or suggestions. Our background. The coordinating board is doing a periodic review of all Chapter 7 rules, which private post-secondary institutions operating in Texas must follow. And this advisory committee is tasked with advising the board on standards and procedures to be used in carrying out the provisions of Texas Education Code Subchapter G. That is the regulation of those private post-secondary educational institutions. So usually we have you reviewing certificate of authority applications, but today, because we are in the midst of revising our rules, we have asked, just a second, Dr. Wojner is joining us. All right, Dr. Wojner, we are just starting to review the PowerPoint with the proposed standards of operation. So welcome.
Thank you.
As I was saying, this committee usually reviews certificate of authority applications, but today, because we are coming to you for your expertise in institutional oversight, we are going to focus on standards required to be met for both initial and subsequent renewal applications for unaccredited institutions. Hopefully this is helpful information for you. You are familiar with the term certificate of authority. That is actually in our statute. But in our rules, we are going to change that term to provisional certificate to operate. We've had some discussion that I don't know if it's confusing for outside people, but for internal people, we are always confused with the two very similar terms for the certificates for the private post-secondary institutions. Certificate of authority for unaccredited institutions which are seeking accreditation, and certificate of authorization for the accredited institutions. So we are slightly changing this to make it more clear that this is a provisional certificate to operate while they are seeking and working towards that recognized accreditation. The standards form the basis for the applications that a site team will review and report to the CAC. They are divided by areas of compliance. This is not changing. However, we have reorganized them and we are proposing to go from 24 standards down to a slightly fewer, but still have that broad coverage to ensure that there is good oversight of these unaccredited institutions. And we are providing a summary today of the standards and suggesting what evidence will be needed for the applications. Today, we're focusing on those standards, and then we will just touch on what information or documentation might be required to show compliance, whether it's an initial application or it is a renewal application. And we are asking you to provide feedback as to whether you think these standards are reasonable and similar to standards to which accredited institutions are held. And I know many of you have probably gone through an accreditation visit or been part of gathering the information. So we are relying on your expertise in this area. We are proposing that there will be 3 possible assessments for applications. Needs improvement, which means not enough evidence to meet the standard. Meets for initial certificate, that would be where an initial applicant provides minimum sufficient evidence to meet that standard. And any renewal application would address areas of improvement identified at the time of that initial application. And then third, meets for renewal certificate, where the applicant is providing evidence to show that it fully meets the standards and addresses any areas of improvement noted in that initial certificate. Okay, let's dive into the first area. The first area is legal compliance. And this is a summary, so wording may change a bit, but we want to give you the basic understanding of what we want to cover in each of these standards. So for legal compliance, the institution has to comply with applicable federal, state, local, and privacy laws to operate the institution and business in Texas. And you can see the type of documentation that we would typically require in the application: licenses, certificates of occupancy, health and safety, things like that. Does the committee think that we have adequately covered legal compliance with this type of standard? Do you have any comments on that, or any other documentation or information that you would want to see if they were showing that they were in legal compliance to operate a post-secondary institution? I'll wait a few seconds, and if you're good with it, I'll move on to the next. All right. The next standard deals with institutional structure and administration. And you can see that this is where we require a governing board, chief academic officer, and the administrative structure that not only supports the mission, but there's accountability, and it protects the interests of all involved students, faculty, and staff. And so that's where we might have in the application that they're required to have a written mission statement, that they've got all of the articles of incorporation or bylaws, that we can see their org chart, that we can be able to determine if the governing board and the chief academic officer have proper credentials. Does anyone have any comments or any suggestions in this area? Or you can also, with each of these standards, tell us if you think we're overstepping, if we're asking for too much.
Cam, I just have one comment, and
Yes.
this may be too picky. I don't know.
No problem.
That very bottom bullet where it says all CVs, transcripts showing required experience or education.
Yes.
House Bill 2504 for actual faculty requires that we document experience and education.
Okay.
So I think where you're going with that is that the CV will probably capture experience and the transcripts would probably capture education, but I might consider rewording that, because what we really want is a holistic view of both, not or, but and. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's a great suggestion. Thank you. And we will take that into consideration.
And if I might add that if an institution has both workforce programs as well as regular academic programs, then experience is a necessary thing, meaning it is not separated from education.
Yes. Duly noted. Thank you. And there are several applicants that do focus on workforce. So,
So maybe and/or something along those lines, but just to capture that we want a holistic view, I think.
Mhm.
okay.
Can we maybe say that like preferably like experience, like it's preferred that you have experience, but like if you have like education that prepares you for a role and you have like no experience, you can get that experience like on the job, like through like proper training, continuing education, like whatnot. So I think with the shortage of people going for educational institutions or programs, for certain role you must have and, but not for all, and you can still be successful.
Okay, great. Can I ask if you have any particular suggested requirements for either the chief academic officer or the chief operational officer? Sorry, I lost it. Chief executive officer.
I don't know, like, you know, like sometimes I'm just like thinking like I'm doing like accreditation for my, or accreditations across the country for my profession. And sometimes there is no chief operating officer. It's just depending on the site. And when somebody is a founding dean, then sometimes like they're like all in one and they just like don't have it and they're still like successful. So that organizational chart is like necessary for the academic unit and for the organization, of course. But in smaller places, like I find that it might be the overarching institutional one that is like serving the unit that is just starting, and they are looking for this provisional or initial like accreditations, like you may.
That's good, Dr. Wojner. Keep in mind that these applicants are applying for their entire organization. So
Okay.
it may be different than what Dr. Wojner is describing, where it's just a new program within a college or within a larger university. So we are also having to look at the entire administrative structure. So that's just one difference, but good suggestion, Dr. Wojner.
And I know this is Dr. Langley, Dorothy. I know that in the past, especially some of the files we've looked at, we've compared to make sure a person that was in a said role was actually qualified to be in that role. So that's why I think the both the experience and education is going to play a major part in that. Primary example, if you have a CEO and they've never been in that similar role or had some type of experience in that role, then, you know, we kind of look for supplemental information.
Okay. All right, great comments. Anything else in this area? All right, I'm going to move on. Thank you. Financial resources. We want the institution to have adequate financial resources and stability to provide that the education is of good quality and to be able to fulfill its commitments to students.
Hey,
You
Kim.
may, yes, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. I can't see the PowerPoint.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was like, wait a minute.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing and then reshare. Can everyone else see it, or did we lose it?
Yeah, I can
We
see
Oh,
it.
is it just
We
me?
can see.
Okay. Sorry, guys. That's weird.
Okay, well, I will stop
Sorry,
sharing and then
never mind.
reshare. Are you okay, Emma?
Yeah, no, I know what's in it. I just wanted to make sure.
No.
No, you need to see it.
I guess Zoom must have done some updates because
All right.
what's going on. Okay. Sorry about that. Disregard.
Okay. All right. I apologize, Emma. All right. Financial resources. As you might know, we already require a surety instrument to cover educational obligations for the current term to currently enrolled students. So that probably will not change. And we would also require a copy of their annual audited financials. Does anyone have any comments on financial resources? Okay,
I think audit is
Go ahead.
good. Now, I'm just gonna say, I believe that audit would be key.
do you have, I may be going beyond, but do you have any suggestions if this is an individual that has not had an audited financial before, what might be acceptable?
Hmm.
I would think they would have some type of tool. I just don't know what that would be.
Okay. All right, I am going to move on. Facilities. We want to ensure that the institution has adequate space, equipment, and instructional materials so that the education is of good quality. So if it is a physical location, that might include a floor plan. We also want to know that it is safe, so published catastrophic or disaster procedures and plans. Again, the copy of health and safety education for all students and staff. And then, of course, inspections or insurance or things like that. I don't think we have it on the list, but if it is primarily an online institution, that might also include facilities where their online education and learning tools might be located as well. Does anyone have comments on facilities? Krista?
Yeah, I think this one could get a little tricky. I understand, and maybe that's the intent, to keep this very general and very broad at this point. But if they are a institution that wants to offer healthcare programs or industrial programs or something like that, the facility requirements are going to be very specific.
Right.
So is that the spirit of keeping this broad at this point? Because this is just for any institution? Is that the idea?
Yes, I believe it is the spirit of keeping it broad, but would you suggest anything specific to add that might cover that to make sure that we were requiring, if it had something specialized like that, like allied health or, some sort of very much hands-on learning, that we were ensuring that we were encompassing those facilities?
Well, I mean, just, you could get into like wash stations or, eye wash stations, or, I mean, the list would be endless, and I don't know how you would really incorporate that here, but
Okay.
maybe we just need a bullet point that says, I'm just throwing this out there. It needs to be reworded, obviously, but depending on the type of program, there may be other, requirements or checklists or something of that sort, because it's one thing to say the building's safe, but then when you start building out what they're actually going to be doing
Right.
in that building, I think the facility needs can get enormous if they haven't planned ahead.
That's great. And I will say that we are planning on having guidance documents as well. And so
Okay.
that might go in the guidance documents for very specific types of learning. So that's great. Thanks.
Hmm.
When the application may require a listing of the degrees offered. That way they could make the
Yes.
cross facilities to listings of programs that they offer.
I have a
Yes.
suggestion. I had just a suggestion to consider. Like, could it state that under the last bullet, evidence of safe and adequate facilities, and then like in the descriptions, like provide like everything that is necessary, like what it means, like to have evidence.
Okay. I'm not quite sure about how we would do that, but yes, we will take that and see if we can work with that idea as well. The issue is that we get all sorts of different applicants. So the more detailed we get on, you need this, it might not apply to all, but we are working on guidance as well to ensure that we cover the correct things for each applicant.
I'm not sure if this wording goes here or not, but I was thinking about us referencing some type of online learning environment
Mhm.
because there's a lot that goes along with learning, online than just being able to get on the computer. It may be some type of privacy. How do you, and we're not going to list all those, but then evidence to prove that you're the person who's actually taking the class, things like that.
Sure.
So that is going to me, fall somewhere. I'm not sure if it falls there, Cam.
It might not fall in facilities, but I think farther down in the standards, it might fall better. So Dr. Langley, if you'd like to
Okay.
sort of put a pin in that, and if it comes to a standard that you think that would fit, please remind us of that again.
Okay, I can do that.
All right. Anything else on facilities?
I have a question on
Yes.
equipment. I know currently the state of Texas has a lot of focus in making connection between education and workforce. How to make seamless transition to the workforce, especially in high-wage, high-demand areas. I was wondering if the language should be modified to imply state-of-the-art equipment, or just equipment would be good enough.
Okay, so your question is that the equipment has to be well maintained and functioning. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was thinking more along the line of, let's say an institution will have very old equipment, but those are not necessarily used by the industry. Therefore, students
Got
are
it.
not going to be adequately trained to transition to the industry. You can be in an old building, but if the equipment are not new, then it's not going to serve the ultimate purpose of especially workforce training and education.
Great suggestion. Now I understand what you're saying, Dr. Mohanty, that you want to make sure that any equipment that is used to train students is up to date with industry standards so that they are being prepared correctly to find jobs in the industry.
Yeah.
Got it.
And when he was speaking, I was thinking that does not go under facilities, but now that I read the bullet point that you have under facilities,
Yeah.
it does reference equipment and instructional materials. So in that sense, we do need to delineate a little bit more than just the broad building. So that's a very good point.
Okay, that is great. Those are great comments. All right, I'm going to move on. Student support. We want the institution to establish student services and have academic records that support the student throughout their academic career. So this area will encompass admissions, any remediation that the institution might do, how foreign degrees or courses are evaluated, advising services, and of course, process to request and obtain transcripts. It's kind of a broad area. I'm sure there's going to be more that is going to go into this, but the broad standard is making sure that there are adequate student services and records. Does anyone have anything under student support that they think really needs to be in this standard that we have left out?
One thing that I'm seeing, if we're thinking about academic records, especially with transcripts, and if we're to eliminate two while they're at the institution, I wonder if that would, if there's a way for us to additionally require them beyond while they're there, because they need to have the transcripts, from throughout their career journey.
Right,
So I don't know
that's
the wording,
great.
how
Yeah.
it would be phrased.
So you would probably change that to throughout their academic career and beyond, or, better wording than that, but that it goes beyond just when they're in school.
Correct.
Understood.
And I can understand the student services part being more specifically while they're there, but the academic records, I think, needs to be a little bit more less time out.
Sure. Great. Dr. Kirkpatrick, did you have a comment?
Well, I haven't seen all of the standards yet, so this
Yeah.
may be covered more deeply as we move forward. But I'm just wondering about like appeals, academic, satisfactory academic progress, taking gaps, academic withdrawals versus medical withdrawals. I mean, again, we don't want to get too into the weeds on these general standards, but I think student support is just such a huge
Right.
piece
Mhm.
that this may need to be flushed out a little bit.
Okay, that's
Because
great.
when I look at student support and the things that are listed here, other than advising, I feel like transcripts, admissions, those types of things, I feel like that's more kind of registrar admissions related and not truly student support in the traditional lens of what we think of as student support. Does that make sense?
Yes. It
Yes.
does.
Can we add something up? Well, I also think about there are other services when you said student services, disability services. We have veterans, their transcripts also have to be looked at differently by a veteran specialist. So I see these two things together, but I'm much like Dr. Kirkpatrick. That's a lot
Mhm.
in that one sentence to capture. It can be done though.
Okay. Dr. Wojner, I think you had a comment.
I did I'm still stuck on these foreign degrees and courses.
Okay.
Since I come from European background, I think it'll be good to say how they're evaluated for US equivalency.
Yes. Okay. Yes, that was my understanding of what we were going to do, but we can
Okay.
flush that out as well. Yes. All right. I know this is a big area. We'll take all of your comments into consideration, and you may find that there are other standards that might fit some of your concerns a little bit more. But at the end, if we have gone through all of these standards and you're like, really wasn't covered by any of them, please let us know of an area that we should cover in one of the standards.
Just one more,
ahead.
and then
Yeah.
we can move.
No, you're fine.
I'm because it's student support. It talks about applications, so it may be on future slides, but standards for retention, graduation rate, how do they the outcomes, program outcomes?
Sure.
Do we have
Yeah.
it in further?
We will have something later.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I bring up something pertaining to international students?
Absolutely.
We have several programs. Those were designed to be fully online. Then we discovered that students, especially those who are international students, they need to have 9 credit hours of classes out of 12 that are face-to-face.
Okay.
Either that or the other way. I forgot exactly which way. But there is a strict requirement. So if there is no requirement with respect to international students, then something may go wrong.
Okay. Would you suggest that we have something either in the standards or in the guidance that addresses that the institution would need to follow federal or state or local requirements on foreign students?
Yes.
Would that cover?
Yes. Another area that I have seen lots of criticism lately, that degrees are offered, students get into those degrees without much job prospects.
Okay.
I don't know exactly where that can be addressed, if there will be some career guidance or advice reflected in one of the bullet items, I think that will give that connection.
Okay. All right. That's great. Okay. I'm going to move on. Great comments. Thank you. The next area is student rights and responsibilities. And this is where we may have touched on a little bit, but this is where we're focused on policies such as student conduct, due process, grievance procedures, including how a student can grieve a complaint. And the application may require that in the student handbook so that the students are clear on how they make a complaint and what their avenues are for making the complaint, whether it's with the coordinating board or the Texas Office of Attorney General, and how they need to go through their internal grievance process first. Again, a big area. So any comments are great.
Yeah, so I have a couple. Student handbook, I think that's great, but I think public transparency, what is their plan? And maybe we have a marketing or a digital slide later, I don't know, but to put that on a public facing website or, share that out, is that somewhere else in the standards? Because student handbook could just infer you have a written document that you hand to students, but it needs to go above and beyond that.
Okay, that's great. I don't know if we have it right now, but we will note that for sure. So you are suggesting that it also should be on their website or in other publicly available documentation, correct?
Yeah, at least the part about how to file a complaint. That the flow of how to do it in interinstitutional and then escalate it to THECB. I mean, because then later you're going to come into NC SARA and all these other things that are going to impact. And so I think establishing early on that they're going to have some type of public transparency is going to be important.
That's great. Thank you.
And for potential students, they need to be able to see this information in some cases before they decide to enroll. So yeah, I just think that's important.
Okay. Good. All right. Anything else? I know we're going with broad strokes here today, so.
Yeah, from an institutional standpoint, we are ensuring that students have proper visibility to the guidance or documents that we have, especially in this area of how to file grievances. That lack of visibility sometimes makes it challenging for students.
Mm-hmm.
So that means institutions may have to work more explicitly to ensure that is visible. It goes back to Dr. Kirkpatrick's point that it should be publicly available. But we have a similar system within the institutions that students can have access.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I really love those comments. I think maybe if we added a bullet that says orientation procedure to student resources and handbook that would come with the application, that would be helpful, because I find students, even when resources are visible, not everybody can see them. But when they have orientation and they attest that they've seen them, then you have something to follow on. It's a good one.
Okay, that's great. Jill. By the way, I'm the SARA representative as well. And so I look at all of your student grievance policies, and sometimes some institutions have very hard to find one. So I understand how important this is to let the students know where it is and what the process is.
I thought you would appreciate me just kind of getting ahead there and throwing that in.
I know, Kristen.
Saving me some work down the line.
Yes, for sure. Okay, I'm going to move on. All right, there's a lot in curriculum, so I have 2 slides for this. So I might show you both slides here and then we can discuss. So for each degree program proposed, we want the institution to have clearly structured and academically rigorous programs that align with the institution's mission and their learning objectives. So with that, we may require a degree map showing those requirements and the minimum credit hours, syllabi, course descriptions, any prerequisites, an accurate degree title and major. I think one of you had already mentioned that already. I'm going to go to my second slide here. The standard would also include, again, the degree title and major, minimum credit hours, the general education content. We do allow currently, and I think this will continue, that an institution that's applying can have a partner institution that provides those general education credits. However, we require that there be a written agreement that the applicant is maintaining the oversight and design of those gen ed courses if another institution is providing them. The standard would also require 50% minimum specialized courses are actually taught by the applicant, and that remedial education does not go towards the degree requirements, and then acceptable outside learning as well. And then, of course, the application, we might require what is the process for assessing that outside learning for credit. So I can go back and forth between these two if you want to review either one, but we've got a lot of things here under curriculum. Have we missed any major points in how we want the institution to show us what their curriculum is, what it consists of, what students will need to complete to get their degree?
I think we want to, like the other, have it published, definitely on the website, on the catalog, or wherever they can be housed.
Okay.
Students can have access with their devices.
Okay, great.
So there were some new CTE guidelines that came out in April. And this is tricky for me. This is new because they're seeking accreditation. I understand they're not going to be completely, on board with everything, but as far as using the WECM to inform their curriculum, things of that nature, I mean, how technical do we want to be here?
Well, WECM is not going to apply to the private post-secondary institutions. And
Okay.
somebody who deals with them more, like Elizabeth Mayer, our assistant commissioner, just joined us recently. So she's on the website. If you have any insight, Elizabeth, please jump in. But I don't think we would require them to align with WECM since they are not generally under that. What we would like to see is whoever they are going to have as their institutional accreditor, that they're going to be aligned with when they get accreditation, that they will ultimately be able to meet those standards for that accreditor. So that's probably where the focus would be, rather than matching up with the public community colleges or universities.
So what about contact hours, things of that nature? We just refer to their accreditor? Is that how that's handled?
We do have in our standards, probably coming up, the minimum credits that we would require, and there's a little range in there for associates, bachelors, graduate.
I see credit hours. I was asking about contact hours.
Oh, yes. I don't know if we have anything specific on contact hours, because we're generally, with the degrees, are thinking of credit hours.
Okay.
Do you want to expand on that a little bit, Kristen?
Well, this is tricky because, THECB seems to be moving away from contact hours as a measure. So I don't know that it's something we should introduce at this point, but I just know that a lot of our programs are still kind of held to contact hours. If we decide if it's if it's this certificate or this OSA or this, whatever it is, we have to be able for high demand funding to say we have so many contact hours. So I just didn't know in this case if these institutions would ever have a need where they had to present how many contact hours were part of their curriculum.
Okay. We're
Yeah.
going to note that. I'm not quite sure.
Also addressed through like a definition of a credit hour.
Yeah.
So even though you don't go into contact hours, if you define credit hour,
Yeah.
maybe that can lead to at least some implications for how much contact the student needs to have with instructors and stuff like that.
Okay.
And also like be mindful that it will make a difference, like if it's a semester credit hours
Mhm.
or like semester credits like versus quarter credits, and
Right.
institutions align themselves differently.
Yeah, and
Yes.
that's a good point because a lot of these will probably be doing something non-traditional as far as their, they probably won't be based on semester. It'll probably be based on a cohort or, a competency based or something along those lines. So we will have all types of applications. I think when we talk about e-learning, the discussion on the interaction, the regular and substantive interaction, which is a federal statute, again, I don't know where the borders are here of how deep we go, but that would certainly be a relative conversation as well.
Great. I love all these comments. We're going to take them all and look at them.
I have one more, Cam, on the
Yes.
if applicable, the partner institution for gen eds and then the written agreement.
Yes.
And I'm concerned about the language that says maintains oversight.
Yes.
Because if the other institution are accredited and they have the faculty, that I think they're the ones that need to maintain oversight, and that is why they would partner with them, because they have the knowledge base and the faculty. So I don't know if there's wording that we could reconsider. I understand the design and the coordination, but maybe oversight, maybe to a word, maybe another word may fit in there. So that it's allowing the institutions to maintain oversight of those gen ed courses, but there is some agreement that delineates, some general expectations for those courses, and then which courses would apply, and in what formats.
Okay. Great questions. Great comments. I do have a question for you. Because of the nature of perhaps the degree, it might be unique. I don't know. Do you think it would be appropriate that for sure the applicant institution needs to have maintained the design of the gen ed courses? I don't know if that's a good question or not, but to be appropriate to the degree that the applicant is applying for.
Yeah, I guess it would, if there were specialized courses that they develop specifically for them, maybe in that case, yeah, I would say that in that case, yes. But I would think if it's something like, I think like an example of like a nursing degree, and they need the Education 1301 to get the license, right, to be able to be a nurse in Texas, and those types of courses where it's courses that are already offered by the institution to their general student body. And then they also want to offer it to them. I don't know if that would ever come up. And I know it's come up with our institution where we've had some of these institutions try to partner with us, and we kind of got stuck on some of those in the agreement. So
Sure.
I don't know if I have the answer, but just something to consider.
Yeah. And was that particularly for gen ed courses?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments on this one? All right, I'm moving on. These are all great. Okay, learning resources. This might bring us back to some of your previous comments. The applicant has to be able to provide faculty and students access to current, organized, discipline-appropriate learning materials, instructional support, online learning resources, learning management systems. I think it also covers, I think it was Dr. Mohanty, you were talking about industry level equipment that they would train on. I think that might be as part of this standard as well. So we would want them to show us things such as what are their books, journals, online databases, how do they plan to maintain those resources? So for example, they have industry standard equipment or industry standard publications and journals to ensure that the students have up-to-date education. What is their learning management system? And then sometimes we do have applicants where they outsource that learning resources, particularly library resources. They may contract with another institution or even a third-party library system. We would want to see that agreement as well to ensure that the students have adequate resources. Does anyone have any comments in this area?
I think that captured my pen.
I find it thorough.
Okay. That's great.
Cam, I wanted to throw this in there before I forget. A lot of those things right there probably appear to be e-learning geared, but I think it's important to stress that even in a face-to-face or traditional setting, there needs to be a business continuity plan in that if we have an ice storm, if we have a pandemic, whatever, that they have the ability to move those operations and instruction online. So I don't know where that goes, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there.
Okay, that's great. I think we had mentioned catastrophic plans in an earlier one, but that's good to note for what might be included in that plan or disaster recovery plan.
COVID would be a prime example of a plan we had to shift into gear, as whole nation had to. But I'm just saying that's an example.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm going to move on. Learning outcomes and program assessment. You all are doing great, and we are moving through this very nicely, and I appreciate all the comments. The applicant should define and have appropriate learning outcomes and methods for assessing the success of its degree programs. And they will need to demonstrate that the learning outcomes are being achieved by the students. I want to note that there might be a difference between an initial application and a subsequent renewal application, where the initial one, they might just be showing us their plan for learning outcomes, but in subsequent applications, they would have to be showing us that the students are now able to demonstrate that they are meeting those learning outcomes. So the application would have that objective tool, and then we also would require under this documentation of labor market need to show that the program is needed. Any comments on learning outcomes and program assessment? Okay, I'm going to move on. Institutional assessment. This is separate from the learning outcomes. We also want the applicant to show they have ongoing institutional assessment. So that's covering improving academic programs, administration, finances, student services, facilities. It's the whole shebang. So again, the reminder is that applicants, this is for their entire organization. It's not just one college within a larger institution or one program. We're really having them look at their entire operation with the institutional assessment. So they would also have to have some sort of documented assessment tool for that assessment. And then this is where we would require them to have a plan and timeline for obtaining that coordinating board recognized accreditation. We would want to see any correspondence they've had in the past with the creditors, and then with each application, their progress toward accreditation, because we don't want them waiting until their last renewal to really start that process, because as we all know, it sometimes can take years to get accreditation. Have we missed anything major in this standard for institutional assessment? All right, y'all are getting easier and easier with these. Thank you.
Well, I'll throw one out there.
Okay.
When you say including correspondence with accreditors in past 10 years,
Yes.
are you speaking simply from an institutional accreditation lens, or are you talking about if they have sought programmatic accreditation or anything along those lines?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think probably it would include all. So programmatic accreditation, and sometimes an applicant can have accreditation that we, the coordinating board, don't recognize.
Right.
So I think it might also include that, so that we could see what their track record was with any type of accreditation.
Yeah, because I think, again, especially in your health science programs and things of that nature, they need to be working towards programmatic accreditations in sync with, the institutional.
Sure.
So they need to be following some of those standards to prevent problems later.
Yes.
I have a question too. I'm kind of stuck between where you mentioned on the last slide about labor market need.
Mhm.
And if it belongs there or here. Maybe I'm not understanding. If we're looking at learning outcomes, and program assessment, and kind of looking at labor market need, how that would feed into the learning versus the overall institutional assessment for when you develop a new program or you're evaluating a program, maybe keeping it separate from learning outcomes.
Okay. All right. Good deal. We will note that and see where it should fit, where it best fits. I'm going to go off our standards here. I think it fits in here somewhere, but where would you best put in, for example, with allied health, with nursing, something that makes sure that they are meeting, say, the Board of Nursing's licensure requirements? Do you have any suggestions so that we make sure that we capture that?
I think with things that are very specific to like licensing, I think that could probably stay under learning outcomes. But I think with labor market need, I think that would be maybe a program evaluation, program review process.
Okay. Dr. Wojner, do you have a comment?
Yes, it definitely is necessary. And I think it's not just like the tools and results, but like when they don't meet like whoever they are, the applicant, if the standard is not met, or like whatever threshold is, like demonstration of some action to actually like overcome, like have a plan for overcoming difficulty. Like anybody can have it, or just like fall behind, like in the required pass rates or retention, graduation rates, like just like for different reasons. But like you have to have a plan and demonstrate like what you have done to come out of the low point.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Dr. Wojner, would you suggest under this institutional assessment, not only requiring a plan and timeline for accreditation, but if there is licensing involved, or graduation pass rates or testing, that we include something there as well?
I would, like,
Okay.
like in general terms, but I think it's like essential. And until you're in it, like until your nose, like you just like may not like even realize that it's not only to have a plan, but then act on it and show what the outcomes like of acting was.
Got it. Great. It's a great comments.
May I add something?
You surely may.
Thank you. One of the things that, for instance, I'm talking about at our institution, we focused on is infusing some of the workforce relevant skills into the courses because sometimes they're not there. So we can make sure that even though we're doing the academic piece, that they're also getting some skills as it relates to the job they're pursuing. So we do that in some of our programs. For instance, AI. Everybody has AI, but how does AI affects criminal justice? So things along that line.
Okay, that's great. I don't know where we would work that in, maybe learning outcomes, but maybe even up in the curriculum. And all right,
Just
great. Okay.
I have a question on this one. Is there a frequency in which institutions should submit
Mhm.
documents to THECB? Let's
Yes.
say every year, 2 years.
Yes,
Should
there
that
is.
be indicated?
Yes. Dr. Mahonti, I should have started with that because not everyone has gone through this process with us for several years. The current certificate of authority, and I don't think that the timeline will change at all, even when we change the name, is 2 years. So every 2 years, the institution has to apply for new authorization. So it would be every 2 years with that application that they would have to submit this information to us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that question. That was great. Okay, this one also has 2 slides, so I'm going to go through both slides and then we can discuss. It's the policies, procedures, and publications. So we want to ensure that they have appropriate policies, procedures, publications, that it's fair and transparent for their operation. The application might require their proposed advertising and recruiting materials so that we can see that it is fair and not deceptive. A published cancellation and refund policy. We will have within the standard that it can't be false, misleading, deceptive, that they have to have an academic catalog. And currently we do have a very long list of things that have to be in the catalog. I have not put them all here, but that will continue. We will have specific things that they need to put in the catalog. We want them to give the graduation and placement rates. We want to see that they are issuing a transcript or a diploma to students in good standing, and that they will have archived catalogs for their students to be able to go back and review. I've seen that a lot with students that have to go back and show exactly what they learned in a specific course. So having those archived catalogs is very helpful. There's a lot here that is not listed in the catalog, but what are we good on policies, procedures, publications? Is there something that we have missed?
So I would just add 2 things. Again, I think it's critical somewhere in this whole process that we're stressing a public-facing website. Okay. And not just hidden written documents that might be dispersed. So all of those things that you just talked about need to be public-facing. because the stakeholders, the business partners, the potential students, the partnering organizations, accreditors need to be able to see that real time. The other thing that I would mention there, you talk about refund policies, things of that nature. I think an overall cost of attendance is important, because while the tuition may be posted, depending on the program, again, there could be certain fees. There could be, you might be required to purchase nursing scrubs. You might be required to, take a certain test or whatever it is. And so I think just an overall cost of attendance is a good idea as far as the financials are concerned.
That's great. Good suggestion. Kristen, would you suggest that requiring this information on a website, would you suggest that that could be in a guidance document, or do you think it's important enough to put right in the standard?
I know that the way accreditors do it, programmatic accreditors, they have a standard specifically for public outcomes and communication.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's kind of a best practice.
Okay.
I don't think you have to rewrite any of these standards. I think just where you're saying student handbook, or where you are saying policy or whatever, just indicate that should also be public facing. I think that might alleviate having to do a whole lot of edits here.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or
Also,
comments?
because all institutions, the way I understand it, they are developing guidelines for AI application, especially for students. I wonder if it is timely to bring that to any procedures that are developed by THCCB.
Okay. Explain that a little bit more,
And
Dr.
in
Mahanti.
short, the question is, the institution shall have an AI guideline, AI application guideline. Without getting too much into the details, that will raise the awareness that is becoming more of a necessity.
Okay. All right. So you are saying a guideline on how AI is used by the institution and by students. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I think this is more of a controversial topic when it comes to students rather than how the institutions are using, because faculty members, at least there are some faculty members, they are very skeptical.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sounds good. Is there any other comments or suggestions on this one? All right. I am actually going to go back through here and just make sure that we have covered everything, because I think I skipped one. I really do. All right. We covered legal compliance. Does anyone have any other comments on this that you came up with after we passed on? All right, institutional structure and administration.
Oh, yeah. On that first one,
yes.
Are they required to disclose that they are not THCCB recognized or accredited, or whatever the word would be at this point?
Yes, that is part of our rules, and I expect that it will continue. That they do have a requirement after they are approved for this provisional operation that they do have to post it.
Standards?
Yeah,
okay.
It will be somewhere in our rules. I don't think it's in these standards, because this is, well, we'll take it under advisement where it should be, but it currently is, and I think it will continue, that they have to publish that they are under the coordinating board's oversight. They are not accredited, and we are not an accreditor. So there's specific language that we have now, and I expect that the same or similar language will continue as well. So, good question.
So I know that maybe that wouldn't belong in the standards, but it is a huge legal compliance matter. So
It
I just
is.
wanted to bring that up. I don't know if that should be mentioned here or not.
No, it's a great thing, especially for subsequent applications, to ensure that they are posting that and that they have posted that on their websites and in their catalogs and wherever they have publications. All right, institutional structure and administration, we went through that. I'm giving you about 2-3 seconds on each of these just to make sure there's nothing. Financial resources. Faculty resources. I think I skipped this. I don't know if I did or not, but ensuring that the faculty has written information as well. And so they know what their job is, and that we have, I do not recall discussing this, that we have current or projected student faculty ratios and course load, so that we know that, one or two people are not covering the whole thing, and, it's unbelievable course load, and they really can't provide the education and support that a student would need. Did we go over this, or did I skip it? And are there any comments on this area?
I don't think we did this one.
Okay, yes. So let's take a few minutes. Does anyone have any comments or suggestions in this area?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some e-learning. If we're talking about distance education, there's definitely some specificity, sorry, that's a hard word, that will be needed for those faculty.
Okay.
So it could be stated as faculty have been adequately trained to offer classes in various modalities, possibly.
That's great. Those are great suggestions.
And I think in general too, I think if there's just a professional development aspect of this, and it can include, even pedagogy and stuff of that sort too, and then modalities as well.
Great.
And we're focusing on quality matters a lot for our faculty.
And also faculty credentialing, something we normally do for our SACSEOC reviews and all. I was wondering if there is a corresponding statement here that will indicate that faculty members teaching classes are appropriately qualified.
Yes. I think this is, if it's not in faculty resources, I believe it is in, let me just go
in another section. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I know that's really key.
I'm not sure if it is, but I think it is in there. But yes, that is a very valid point, to make sure that when we're requiring the faculty CVs, and it was the area, I'm going back, it was the area where we discussed CVs and education versus experience, and ensuring that the faculty are adequately experienced and have the correct education to teach the courses that they are teaching. So yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, I was going into sort of like the sub items we have under this, and it does specify, like, if you're in an academic licensure program, career and technical education program, gen ed, graduate program. So it specifies out the at least the minimum education requirements for each of those, and we can add some additional language about experience as well.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Emma. Anything else on faculty resources? I just knew I skipped that one, so thank you for going back and making comments with this one. All right, we talked about facilities, student support, rights and responsibilities, curriculum, learning resources, learning outcomes and program assessment, and then institutional assessment, the policies, procedures, and publications. All right. Anything that came to mind as we were quickly going back through that, any areas that you think we have missed in standards?
I just wanted to bring up one thing because this is something we are working on right now. Emergency management. Sometimes emergencies are not really catastrophic. For example, a student demonstration because there is some events going on at the national level. Which procedure will cover that? How the institution will deal with something that is non-catastrophic, and yet they will have to be prepared for dealing with those because those are student issues.
So other disruptive events. Is that what you're describing?
Yes, it could be. I think that will be more encompassing.
Okay.
For instance, snow days, Doc.
This is true.
We had a lot of that this couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah, only thing is that let's say if it is a student demonstration, there may not be a national level or state level guidance other than
Right.
freedom of speech, etc. So I was wondering if the applicant should develop procedure, or at least should have some kind of procedures if these are not defined by any other authority bodies across Texas or at the national level.
Okay. Great comments. We will note those, Dr. Mohanty. All right. Anything else?
Pam, this is great. This is my first time to be a part of this, but I just wanted to thank you for being so organized and patient and open-minded. I enjoyed this.
Well, great. This is a little off our normal agendas, but we appreciate all of your expertise and your suggestions. All right. I'm going to give you the next steps, and they're kind of squishy right now. We are going to complete our Chapter 7 revisions, and we just looked at one little piece of the chapter. So we have lots of procedures, lots of rules in different areas that we will be working on in the coming weeks. And then we are going to route them for agency leadership approval. We will publish them in the Texas Register either this spring or summer, depending on how long it takes us to get through the rest of the rules. There will be a public comment period. So when it is published in the Texas Register, if you have additional comments or someone from your institution wants to go through the rules, it's going to be quite voluminous, I would say. But we would welcome any public comments as well. And then the Chapter 7 revisions will be presented at best case scenario July. We think it will probably be October of this year at the quarterly board meeting. And we expect final rules and then supporting application templates, guidelines, things like that to help applicants to have those finalized by the end of 2026. So for a while, we will be operating under the current rules. If certificate of authority applications come in, that will be under the current rules. And then once these new revised rules are in place, they will take over and any new forms or templates will take over as well. I really want to thank you. These have been great comments, and I think we've gotten some really good information from you all today. Are there any other questions or comments before we adjourn for the day?
My question would be, what are the tasks for us after today?
Well, after today, we wanted your opinion on the standards because that's sort of the central piece of this area, and we will let you know when I will try to send out a separate email to all of you when the standards are actually published so that you have time to comment on them. And then for the next meetings, oh, I forgot to tell you when the next meetings are. Let me pull that up here quick. We will go back to sort of business as usual. We will have applications, if any come in, that we will have you all review. The next meetings, if you would please calendar them, are April 30th and July 30th. We don't have any applications right now that are pending, but we have had several potential applicants that have indicated interest in applying. So I will keep you all up to date. As I said, until the revised rules are in place, the current rules and process will be followed. And I will let you know if we are canceling one or both of those upcoming meetings because we just haven't gotten applications in. Does that answer your question, Dr. Mohanty?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
fun to work on this. Previously I did this kind of work many years ago at the federal level, developing regulations so I can understand the steps.
Yes.
They're so similar.
Yes. It can be messy, but we are trying to proceed very, very completely and make sure that we are covering everything and in very clear language as well. All right. Then Dr. Langley and the CAC members, these are all the items that we have on our agenda today. So I want to thank you again for your expertise and insight, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone have a nice day.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.